Have you ever noticed that little port uh, tucked away under your car's dashboard?
That OBD port, yeah,
Exactly, the onboard diagnostics interface. It's basically the window into your vehicle's brain, right?
pretty much.
Yeah.
How mechanics and, well, increasingly even drivers themselves can talk to the car's computer.
Check trouble codes, monitor performance, see what's going on under the hood without actually opening it.
Right, it's all about accessing that data.
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into the global OBD interface market itself. Our mission really is to pull out the most important nuggets from some detailed market projections and trends. We want to give you, our listener, a shortcut to understanding this, well, fascinating and really rapidly growing sector.
And all the data we're looking at today comes from cognitive market research, just so everyone knows the source.
Absolutely. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the big picture, the global heartbeat of this market.
Yeah.
So back in 2021, the OBD interface market, it generated sales revenue of just over $2.5 billion.
2,518 million, to be exact. A substantial number already.
It is. But what's really remarkable is where it's headed. By 2033, this market is set to more than double.
Yeah, the projection is 6,556.73 million, over $6.5 billion.
That's massive. And it represents a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 8.3%.
Which is a very healthy clip year over year for over a decade.
So looking at that kind of significant global expansion, what does this tell us? What does this growth actually mean for, for us, for how we interact with our vehicles?
Well, what's fascinating here, I think, is how that robust global picture breaks down when you look region by region. The stories those numbers tell are quite different.
Okay, so where should we start? North America.
Yeah, let's start there. North America, it's what you might call a mature market, but it's still growing rapidly.
Right.
It pulled in around $952 million in 2021.
All right.
And by 2033, that figure is projected to reach over $2.3 billion.
Oh,
So that's 2,353.87 million.
still more than doubling.
Exactly. Growing steadily at the CAGR there is 7.838%, nearly 8% annually.
So even in a market we think of as established.
Right. Now, if you drill down into the countries there,
Yeah.
the United States, as you'd expect, is the dominant force.
Sure.
It started at $785 million in 21 and is projected to hit over $1.9 billion by 2033.
Wow.
Interestingly, though, its annual growth rate, 7.717%, is just slightly below the regional average.
Huh. So big, but maybe growing a tad slower than its neighbors.
Precisely. It suggests that while it's this massive market, other countries are, let's say, catching up a bit faster in percentage terms.
Like Canada.
Exactly like Canada. Look at Canada. $96 million in 21, projected to hit almost $260 million by 2033.
Okay, that's nearly tripling.
Yeah, and the CAGR there is strong, 8.622%.
And Mexico.
Mexico also shows really robust expansion. Started around $71 million, projected to reach almost $180 million. That's an 8.034% CAGR.
So North America overall, just steady, strong demand.
Yeah, it indicates that even in these established automotive markets, there's this persistent demand for more sophisticated, more accessible diagnostic tools.
Yeah.
Cars are just getting more complex electronically.
That makes sense. Okay, that's a strong performance from North America. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. How does Europe compare? With its own distinct automotive culture, diverse economies.
Right, Europe is another major player.
So Europe's market, let's see, it was valued at over $540 million in 2021.
$544 million, yeah.
And it's projected to more than double, hitting nearly $1.35 billion by 2033.
$1,344.13 million, to be precise.
Like the growth rate there.
It's expanding at a respectable 7.91% annually. So quite similar to North America overall, actually.
Okay, but within Europe, I imagine there's quite a bit of variation.
Oh, definitely. When you look at individual countries, Germany really stands out.
The automotive powerhouse.
Exactly. It has one of the strongest annual growth rates in the region, over 8.6%. That's 8.632%. It's on track to nearly triple its market value from 2021, started at $107 million to 2033, reaching about $285 million.
Okay, Germany's strong. What about the UK?
The UK and Spain are also showing very healthy growth, both expanding at over 8% per year. The UK is 8.324%, Spain slightly lower at 8.192%.
Still very solid.
Very solid.
Ah.
But then you see some differences. France, for instance, it's growing, but at a slightly lower rate, around 7.3% annually.
Okay.
Italy's around 7.6%. Switzerland is just under 7.2%. Sweden's a bit higher, 8.1%. Denmark, 7.7%. So you see that range.
Right. A bit more varied than North America seems.
Yeah. And then you get to the lower end of the spectrum for Europe, like Russia. It shows the slowest expansion among the listed European countries.
How slow are we talking?
Around 6.5% annually, 6.535%. It's projected to roughly double its market value by 2033, from $32 million to about $68 million.
Which is still growth, but definitely lagging behind Germany or the UK.
Right. It suggests maybe a more mature aftermarket there, or perhaps different regulatory drivers compared to its neighbors.
And what about smaller markets? Luxembourg was mentioned.
Yeah, Luxembourg, tiny market value, of course. Started at $6.5 million, projected to hit $14.3 million. The CAGR is 6.8%, so again, on the lower side for Europe, but still growing.
Okay, so Europe. Solid growth overall, led strongly by Germany, but with more noticeable variations between countries.
That sums it up well. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, well, Asia-Pacific is undeniably the region to watch.
Ah, this is where the really high numbers are.
This is where you see truly explosive expansion.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
This is where the really high numbers are.
This is where you see truly explosive expansion. This region saw revenue around $675 million in 2021.
Okay, already larger than Europe in 21.
Yes, but it's projected to skyrocket to over $1.9 billion by 2033. $1,934.24 million.
Wow, nearly tripling.
And that translates to an incredibly impressive annual growth rate of 9.18%. That's the highest regional growth globally.
Over 9%. Okay, so let's break that down. China must be huge.
China leads the pack in terms of sheer market size, absolutely.
Yeah.
Started at $213 million in 21, expected to nearly triple to over $620 million by 2033.
And the growth rate?
Robust, 9.372% each year. Very strong.
Okay, impressive. But you mentioned explosive growth.
Right, because India truly stands out. It has the highest annual growth rate across all listed countries and regions we're discussing today.
Higher than China's 9.3%.
Significantly higher, a staggering 10.264%.
10.3%. Goodness. What does that mean in value?
India's market started at about $75 million in 2021. It's projected to more than triple in value by 2033. Hitting over $240 million.
That's incredible growth. What's driving that, do you think?
Well, it's not just a number, right? It reflects this massive surge in new car ownership, particularly in its growing middle class.
More cars on the road, needing diagnostics.
Exactly. That, coupled with the increasing complexity of modern vehicles and, well, a growing demand for better diagnostic tools, it just creates this fertile ground for OBD adoption. Mechanics need these tools to keep pace.
Makes perfect sense. Any other standouts in APAC?
Definitely. Singapore is another really high-growth market. It's showing very rapid expansion, over 9.5% annually, 9.577% CAGR.
Wow.
And the broader Southeast Asia region, that's also seeing incredibly strong growth, over 9.7% annual growth.
So Southeast Asia as a whole is growing even faster than China or Singapore.
As a collective region, yes, 9.715% CAGR. Started at $56 million, projected to hit $171 million.
Fascinating. What about established markets like Japan or South Korea?
Still growing briskly. Japan's CAGR is about 8.5%, South Korea slightly higher at 8.58%. Taiwan is also strong at 8.67%.
So really strong growth across the board in APAC. Is anywhere lagging a bit?
Relatively speaking, Australia shows a slightly lower CAGR for the region, around 7.58%. Still good growth, but not the explosive rates we see elsewhere in APAC.
Okay, wow. India's 10.2% growth rate is truly remarkable. With such incredible dynamism in the East, let's not overlook the expansions happening elsewhere.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean? Let's broaden our view to, say, South America, the Middle East, and Africa.
Right. These regions are also showing significant growth, even if the starting base is smaller.
Okay, South America first.
In South America, we're seeing strong overall growth. The market there was about $141 million in 2021.
And a projection.
Projected to more than double, hitting about $382 million by 2033.
And the growth rate.
Over 8.6% annually.
Yep.
8.635%. So actually higher than North America or Europe's overall rate.
Interesting. Who's leading there? Brazil?
Brazil is the regional leader in terms of market size, yeah.
Yeah.
Started at nearly $59 million, heading towards $157 million. Its CAGR is strong at 8.51%.
Okay. But you said the overall region was growing faster?
Exactly. Because you see even higher growth rates in places like Argentina, over 9.1% annually.
Wow.
And Chile is also very high, nearly 8.9% annual growth. Colombia's around 8%, Peru 8.4%.
So quite dynamic across South America, lots of growth potential.
Definitely indicates a growing vehicle fleet and increasing sophistication and maintenance needs there.
All right, let's pivot to the Middle East. Similar story.
Pretty similar pattern, yes.
Yeah.
Strong growth. The market was about $108 million in 2021.
Huh?
Expected to nearly triple in value by 2033, reaching almost $290 million.
And the CR.
Over 8.5% annually, 8.523%. Again, very healthy.
Who are the key players there? Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia is a key player, growing consistently at around 8.6%. Turkey's also showing strong growth, nearly 8.9%.
Okay.
But the UAE is particularly notable. Very high annual growth rate there, over 9.2%.
9.2%. So another hotspot like Argentina or Singapore.
It seems like it. It likely reflects strong economic development and continued investment in automotive infrastructure across the region. Egypt's around 8%, Qatar 8.2%.
Okay, one more region, Africa.
Africa. Now, compared to the others we've discussed, it has the lowest regional annual growth rate globally.
But still growing.
Oh, yes, still solid growth. It's 7.572% annual.
Okay, so still projected to expand significantly.
Right. Projected to more than double its market value by 2033, from about $98 million in 2021 to over $250 million.
And within Africa.
South Africa leads the charge there, growing at over 8.2% annually. So its growth is actually quite strong, above the regional average.
Interesting.
And Nigeria is also seeing robust expansion, over 7.8% each year. So this signals a growing, though perhaps still developing, need for modern vehicle diagnostics on the continent.
Right. Slower overall than other regions, but still consistent positive growth, especially in key economies.
Exactly.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, a lot of numbers.
We have.
So this raises an important question. What overarching patterns emerge when we put all these numbers together? What's the big story?
Well, I think the overall picture is really clear. It's one of consistent, strong global growth in the OBD interface market. And that's across incredibly diverse regions.
Yeah, everywhere seems to be growing.
Everywhere. Now, while North America and Europe remain significant in terms of, sheer market value.
Dollar figures, yeah.
Right. Asia Pacific, particularly countries like India, Singapore, Southeast Asia, that's where you see the most aggressive expansion in terms of growth rates.
Those double-digit or near double-digit CAGRs.
Exactly. But even the areas with relatively lower growth, like Russia or maybe parts of Africa, they're still expanding steadily. It's not just about more cars on the road, though that's part of it, especially in APAC and other emerging markets.
So what else is driving it?
It signifies, I think, a deeper, more fundamental trend. This market is expanding so rapidly because vehicle technology itself is becoming incredibly complex. More sensors, more electronics, more data.
So the need to access and understand that data is just growing exponentially.
Precisely. The demand for accurate diagnostics, for efficient maintenance, for real-time vehicle health information, it's only growing. And not just for professional mechanics anymore.
Right, you see more consumer-level OBD scanners now.
Exactly. Car owners themselves want more insight. It reflects this broader shift towards more proactive, more data-informed vehicle care.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so this deep dive really shows a dynamic and genuinely expanding global market for these OBD interfaces. It's driven, as you said, by this ever-growing need for vehicle data and diagnostics. Hopefully you, our listener, now have the essential insights, maybe some surprising facts about a market that, let's face it, quietly underpins a massive industry.
It really does.
So what does this all mean for you? Well, consider how this growth in OBD technology might reshape vehicle ownership, maybe maintenance, in the next decade.
It's an interesting thought.
Could your car soon be telling you exactly what's wrong, before a mechanic even looks at it? Or maybe even predicting future issues based on sensor data?
The potential is definitely there. Predictive maintenance.
And think about all the data this technology generates. What other industries might it impact, beyond just automotive repair? Insurance, fleet management, urban planning.
That's a great question to leave people with. The ripple effects could be huge. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today,
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
huge. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something really central to modern cars, the OBD interface market. We've got sources lined up ready to talk about the key drivers, some surprising challenges, and, well, the future trends. Our goal, to really unpack how these, unassuming little ports are totally reshaping vehicles and how we connect with them. So what is it about these little guys? What makes them so vital?
Well, yeah, it's definitely moved beyond just mechanics needing to check things. We're really diving into this mix of crucial vehicle data, changing global rules, and some pretty groundbreaking tech. And this affects basically everything, from your own car right up to huge commercial trucking fleets, how they all operate.
That's fascinating. Okay, so if we look at what's really pushing the growth here, what's the biggest factor you're seeing? What's having the most impact?
Oh, hands down, it's the huge need for auto diagnostics and telematics. Just think about the explosion in connected vehicles we're seeing, both personal cars and big fleets. They all need real-time performance data, not just for like basic checks, but for tracking mileage, understanding engine health, all that detail. And the OBD interface, that's the main way to get that critical data out.
Right, and it's not purely technology driving it, is it? Regulations seem to play a pretty big part too.
Absolutely. The rise of really strict safety and emissions rules across the globe is a massive driver. Governments are actually mandating onboard diagnostics now for compliance monitoring. So that puts pressure on car makers to integrate, well, ever more sophisticated systems. It's not just about passing an emissions test once, it's continuous monitoring for cleaner, safer cars.
And it's not just the manufacturers or the regulators either. We're seeing some interesting shifts with consumers, aren't we? Like, what's behind this boom in DIY diagnostics? Who's benefiting there?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting for, the average car owner. More and more people are looking for tools that are easy to use, portable, things they can use for self-diagnosis, maybe even minor fixes. Suddenly you see a check engine light. It doesn't automatically mean a big, expensive garage visit. You can often figure out the issue yourself. That potentially saves a lot of time and definitely money. It's a big shift.
More power to the consumer.
And that power is getting amplified by things like cloud platforms and mobile apps, right? We're talking remote diagnostics, vehicle tracking, even predictive maintenance stuff, all accessible from your phone. Thanks to like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi OBD tools. It's amazing how fast that changed.
It really is incredible. But, like with any tech that moves this fast, there are definitely some speed bumps, challenges.
Yeah, one that jumps out from the sources is compatibility, these varying OBD2 standards, different protocols across models.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like it could be frustrating. You buy a tool hoping it works for everything, but it doesn't. That's a significant hurdle, yeah. Even within the same model year, different makers might use slightly different ways for the car to talk. And another really pressing concern is data privacy and cybersecurity. I mean, these tools are sending sensitive data, vehicle data, user data, driving habits, maybe location. So that naturally raises some serious flags about, potential vulnerabilities, cyber threats, both for regulators and for us, the users. What if that data gets misused?
That's a big one. Then there's just the cost, right? Basic tools might be affordable, but the really advanced ones.
Exactly. The professional-grade diagnostic devices, they can be really expensive. That makes them kind of prohibitive for maybe individual consumers or even smaller garages, smaller businesses.
Okay, and one more practical limit, older cars.
Right. Vehicles made before OBD2 became the standard, sort of pre-mid-90s for many places. They just can't fully use a lot of these modern interface features, so that limits how far these new tools can penetrate the existing fleet of cars on the road.
Okay, so we've got the challenges. But looking ahead, what's exciting? What trends are really set to reshape the OBD world? What's next?
Well, there's a very clear shift towards wireless and cloud-based devices. We're kind of gradually moving away from the traditional wired plug-in systems towards tools that offer real-time updates, diagnostics delivered over the air via the cloud, more flexibility, definitely less cable clutter.
And something that could directly hit your wallet. Usage-based insurance, UBI.
Ah, yes.
Insurance providers are tapping into these OBD systems, collecting data on driving behavior, and then offering personalized premiums based on how you actually drive, not just, age and postcode.
That's becoming quite common. And in the commercial world, for fleets, integrating OBD tools with their management systems is just becoming essential. It's not just tracking where the trucks are anymore. It's crucial for predictive maintenance, optimizing fuel efficiency, planning better routes. For a big fleet, even small improvements there mean massive cost savings.
Right. And finally, something really cutting edge, AI and predictive diagnostics.
This is where it gets really futuristic. Advanced OBD systems are starting to use artificial intelligence to actually forecast potential failures before they happen. They can recommend maintenance at the right time, boost vehicle uptime, improve safety. Imagine your car saying, hey, your alternator might fail next month, instead of just breaking down.
Wow. That's quite a leap.
It really is a fundamental shift, isn't it? From just, checking engine codes to this whole comprehensive data-driven ecosystem. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, well, the role of OBD systems is only going to get more central as our vehicles become smarter, more connected.
Definitely. We've really dug into how critical these OBD systems are becoming, from, helping with DIY fixes to powering smart fleets, even changing insurance. It seems clear the future of vehicle connectivity really does hinge on this tech.
Mm-hmm.
So this brings up an important question for you, our listener. As all this vehicle data becomes more common, more complex,
Mm-hmm.
how do you see the balance between convenience, privacy, and innovation in the future of driving? What stood out most to you from our deep dive today?
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.